Surprised to stop the lawnmower there, like.
I'm joined by Jerome O'Connell of the Limerick Leader. Jerome, you are now the Invincibles, 10 wins from 10, All-Ireland, Munster, League champions, incredible stuff.
Comparing John Kiely to Arsene Wenger there and Arsenal 2003-2004, is it?
I think it's about time we got to that stage. I know, but joking aside, I mean, what a season, but today, what a performance.
And you know what, 13 games, 13 wins, today was the best. And I remember saying it in a couple of previews and chats last week that if they were to beat Waterford, I felt they'd have to get their best performance of the year. And they did. You know, that's kind of the performance that we felt that was coming from the team. You know, teams had looked a bit sluggish. I don't think they were sluggish. I think teams had, you know, stood up to them, the likes of Galway, Waterford in the Munster final. But you just felt Limerick were waiting to burst clear of those tackles, shake off the shackles and just go for it. And it happened today. And there's no doubt about it, the experience of 2018 and all that stood to Limerick. But I mean, they were at their best today, pretty much from start to finish. You know, they were 6 clear early in the first half. And, you know, if Waterford hadn't got a couple of points before half time, it would have been a 6-7 point lead at half time. But just that second half, they were superb. And, you know, can't really wait to watch it back again. They were just so good.
Yeah, and is there any player in particular that stood out? I mean, I go through it there. I think Kyle Hayes is unbelievable at wing back. And I mean, like, that's 2 All-Ireland finals in a row where he's been sensational. Gearóid Hegarty, 7 points. Tom Morrissey, 5 points from play. There's a lot of hurler of the year candidates there.
Yeah, there is. And I mean, when you look through the team, 13 of them started the final 2 years ago. And I mean, the 2 missing are missing because of injury. Mike Casey and Richie English. And you know, if you went back to the start of the championship or back to last January and said Mike Casey and Richie English won't hurl a minute of the championship, I mean, straight away you would have got, you know, I'm a bit worried about the defence. The defence has been incredible. I mean, you talk about Gearóid Hegarty and Tom Morrissey and their scoring, but I mean, Dan Morrissey and Barry Nash, I don't think they've put a foot wrong in the entire championship. You know, I've heard people talking about Sean Finn as a 3-in-a-row All-Star. I think you need to go back and look at Dan Morrissey and Barry Nash. They've been absolutely incredible. And you mentioned Kyle Hayes. I mean, man of the match 2 years ago at centre forward as a teenager. For me, he's on the short list again in the 2020 final at wing back. Declan Hanna, James Burns. You know, you just go through the team and they've been incredible. And you know, there's more to come. You know, there was a couple of guys maybe, you know, were a little bit quiet today, but that's probably the strength of the unit, that on different days, you know, it's different people stepping up. And once again, they got to return off the bench as well, with a couple of guys coming on and probably made a more telling impact than the Waterford bench did. You know, maybe it was gone a bit too far from Waterford at that point anyway.
Something that, you know, since that game has ended, and I'm thinking more about it, I'm like, Gearóid Hegarty looked a really good player a couple of years ago. Then last year, and he had a quiet semi-final last year, didn't go his way. But I feel like every year he's getting better. Every year Tom Morrissey's getting that bit better, Sean Finn. What, is this a product of the coaching that's going on there? Like, it's not by accident that these players are getting better, and maybe that's the terrifying thing. They're still all early to mid-20s and can get better again. But how much of this is down to John Kiely, Paul Kinnerk and co?
Yeah, it has to be. And I mean, look, from a Limerick hurling point of view, the ingredient we were missing for years, or at least one of them, was confidence as well. You know, I mean, you only have to go back to, and John Kiely referenced it in his interviews straight away afterwards. In 2017, we didn't win a championship game. We lost to Clare and Kilkenny. Now, there was a lot of positives in that Kilkenny display up in Nolan Park in the qualifiers. You could see that, you know, we're moving in the right direction. But I mean, since then, they've just taken off. And it is the coaching, but I mean, look at John Kiely as a manager, you know, and I think sometimes he references himself more as the CEO. You know, he's directing the whole thing, and he has surrounded himself with the cream of the crop. I mean, Paul Kinnerk gets all the plaudits, but I mean, if you even took Paul Kinnerk out of the management team, you still have Alan Cunningham. Alan Cunningham is an All-Ireland club-winning coach. He's a former coach at inter-county level with Clare and Offaly. Angus O'Brien is, was heavily involved with the Clare setup. Donal O'Grady, now former Limerick captain, has gone in there to earn his stripes. Mikey Kiley's now S&C coach. Mikey's done it before at underage with both Limerick and Clare. And you just go on and go on. You've got Caroline Curd. They really have the best of the best. You know, they're the standard bearers, and for me, both on and off the field.
To me as well, the puck outs. They're just and Waterford won plenty of their own. Like and Stephen O'Keefe played pretty well, but like Nicky Quaid, he's just Nicky Quaid, and then the options that are presented in front of him. Whether it's the way the full back line will fold in, and the likes of Kyle Hayes will get it right out on the flanks, and then for turn and run, or let's say Hannon's got such a sweet touch and movement, he can get it out, or Diarmuid Burns is a great delivery. They're brilliant going that way. And like Quaid seems to be able to find the long ones as well. It just seems like every measurable, like there are 80 puckouts in a game, give or take, and you don't get a chance to set up 80 times for anything in a match. But they have really nailed this area, haven't they?
Yeah, and it was the same. That was the launch pad in 2018 as well. And I guess it comes from the coaching ground, you know. And if you read deep into interviews from, I suppose maybe some of the guys that have moved on in recent times will reference it more than the guys that are still there. But you know, game-based training is Paul Kinnerk's thing, you know, and they've been through all these scenarios on the training field of the LIT Gaelic Grounds or Mick Neville Park in Rathkeel, and they just never seem to be, you know, in trouble. They know the next move. There's someone coming off the shoulder, and as you said, it's options. I mean, you're looking out there and you're wondering, how's Kyle Hayes got free? I mean, why haven't Waterford nailed this down? But it's the movement, and if they do nail him down, you know, you put it down on top of Gearóid Hegarty or Tom Morrissey, and you know, Tom Morrissey plucks one from the sky here early in the first half and puts it over the bar. It's very hard to go against that when you're up against, you know, Calum Lyons and Kevin Moran, who probably both had great seasons coming into it, and there you have Tom Morrissey plucking one from the sky. Like, it's, you know, the options are just so varied.
Is it a golden generation that's after coming along for Limerick, or did you always have the talent but just couldn't quite put it together?
We never had the talent quite as good as this, to be honest. You know, it's a golden generation. It really is. Wrote an article during the week about Tom Morrissey. He's won a championship title in the Green of Limerick in 8 of the last 9 years. And it's a conveyor belt. Now, let's go back to under 16 in 2012. Won Munster Minors in 13 and 14, along with Cian Lynch, Barry Nash, Sean Finn. Won an All-Ireland 21 in 2015. Bad year in 2016, didn't win anything. Won an under 21 in 2017. Won an All-Ireland in 2018. Won a Munster Championship 2019. Won a Munster and All-Ireland in 2020. And that's Tom Morrissey, Cian Lynch, Barry Nash, Sean Finn. You know, that group. And it is a huge conveyor belt. But I mean, just look yesterday, Limerick reached the Munster Minor final. It's 7th Munster Minor final appearance in 8 years. You know, it's a huge conveyor belt of talent. And, you know, if you're a 16, 14-year-old now, I mean, you want to be inside the Limerick Hurling Academy. It's the place to be. And, you know, it's a well-run academy and they're getting the returns. But, I mean, go back maybe 10 years ago, 12 years ago when they were setting it up, I'm sure they probably had to make a few more phone calls to get guys in there. There's probably a queue at the gate to get in there now.
Yeah, you won't be losing too many lads to rugby, I'd imagine. But another thing I want to ask you is, when I look at Limerick, I think they're now hurling's answer to Dublin in football, where there's almost an interchangeability about the team. Like Kyle Hayes, if you told him in the morning, look, we're going to start you centre back, we're going to start you midfield, we're going to start you in the forwards. Cian Lynch has gone from midfield to centre forward, and obviously in previous years he was even on the inside line. Will O'Donoghue could probably play centre back if he wanted to. He could play wing back, midfield. Is that something that really stands out to you as well? I mean, even that comparison with Dublin, is that unfair, or is that like overhyping it?
I don't think they're quite at the Dublin scale, you know, right now. I mean, they're not totally dominating teams at their ease. That Dublin.
They've won most games by nearly 10 points.
Yeah, they have. Yeah, they have, and you know, they've won what now, 6 of the last 7 trophies, major trophies that they would have entered. They do it, and I mean, they're all so comfortable. I mean, if you took the half forward line and put them into the half back line and swapped them vice versa, they're just so comfortable in their own skin, and they all seem to know the roles. You know, I mean, Gearóid Hegarty was wing back on the under 21 team. Declan Hannon, Kyle Hayes both played in the forwards. Barry Nash, you know, started his first championship game back in 2015-16, a corner forward. You know, he's corner back. Dan Morrissey was wing back, he's full back. I mean, Nicky Quaid has even played outfield back in 2010. Yeah, they're so comfortable. And it comes from the training ground. You know, and again, I mean, look, it's not just Paul Kinnerk and John Kiely. It's the club scene in Limerick as well. And I mean, credit to Napirsig and Kilmallock. You know, they've both come to Croke Park. They both won Munster club titles across the last decade. And Na Piarsaigh breaking down the barrier of winning an All-Ireland club title here as well. It can't be forgotten in the whole history of Limerick getting to where they are right now, because that was a huge thing for Limerick team, senior team, to come to Croke Park and win a senior championship final.
How much was of this thing that was talked about with Aaron Gillane and like his finger issue, his side, his ribs, whatever it would be after the challenge with Grode McInerney, and if he wasn't right, how much do you think that filtered in, or was that more of a sideshow that everyone else was getting distracted by?
I think it was probably something for us in the media more than anything else. I mean, I don't think he actually missed the training session. Now, he mightn't have partaken in some of them fully, but I mean, he was at every training session between semi-final and final. Limerick have really left him up there at times to plough a real lone furrow. And I mean, he takes the punishment. There's no doubt about it. I mean, high balls, low balls, he's under him. And I mean, defender's going to do what a defender's got to do. But I mean, Aaron just takes that punishment, and it's club level, it's inter-county level. But I mean, he really is the arrowhead of the attack. And, he can get tumbled over, he gets right up, takes the free. And if he's not willing to do it, or if he can't do it, you've got Seamus Flanagan dragging the defenders left and right. And I mean, for me, the big thing about Seamus today, and I just love to see it, he's putting a return on the score sheet as well, in not just the work rate that he was bringing previously.
And do you think anything can derail this at the moment? Like, if you take Aaron Gillane out of the team, are they in trouble, or will they just rejig and go again? If John Kiely or Paul Kinnerk decided it was no longer, like, what's going to happen for other teams to even feel like they can beat Limerick? Because looking at it from the opposition's point of view, you're like, they're a long way away here. I mean, you beat Galway by 3 points, and they could have actually beaten you, but you seemed like far superior. There was far more, and if you met them again, I suspect you'd win fairly handsomely. So do you think anything can derail this team?
I'm sure something can. I mean, we came here last year to semi-final, and we didn't think that Kilkenny would have our number, but they did, and look, that's the joy of sport, isn't it? But the hunger is the key ingredient, and it certainly appears to be still there. They're not going to lose their skill set or their fitness or anything like that, especially like knowing the leaders that are within that team and within the management. And the good thing is, we would think in Limerick that there's a couple of more guys to come on to this in the next year or two that we've seen coming from minor teams. There's no one in that team, with the grey hairs just yet. They've plenty time on their side in terms of that starting 15. And I mean, look, Peter Casey would get on most inter-county teams and had to settle for a place on the subs today. And there's more like him, but Richie English and Mike Casey. Richie English certainly back for next year. Mike Casey might just miss the inter-county scene next year if it comes early in the year. But I mean, that's a nice trio to have straight away, pushing to get into your starting 15.
Brilliant stuff, Jerome. Congrats.
Thanks, Jen.